CNA's Asia First presenters from TV and radio, Adam Bakhtia and Yasmin Yonkers, have been taking the pulse of the city in the hours since Carrie Lam's news conference, and they've also been examining the impact of the protests on tourism.
Hong Kong is notorious for being very, very busy, and today the city lived up to its expectations, just absolutely humming along, most notably in politics, as Hong Kong continues reacting to the results of the District Council election.
Yes, that's right, and all eyes, of course, today was on Chief Executive Carrie Lam as she delivered her weekly briefing. Now, Mrs. Lam acknowledged that the overwhelming defeat of the pro-establishment camp in the weekend poll shows public discontent with her government's handling of the political unrest. Now, an analyst suggests there is an implicit message in her words.
Carrie Lam herself will definitely start a new round of communication and dialogue and consultation with the newly elected district councillor. But I think one of the more hidden message in her speech is that she's trying to show Beijing and the world that she is doing well. She's having everything in control.
Politics aside, tourism was also in focus. This is a sector that's been under strain from the unrest as visitors steer clear of the city and travel agents have been struggling to stay afloat.
With such a big drop in visitors' arrival in their business in a matter of 6 months, a lot of them actually have planned for a growth in 2019 actually because of the good results that we see in 2018. So a lot of them all of a sudden have to cut a lot of costs, including shutting down outlets, reducing their manpower, taking no pay leave, or just reducing their size of the company to survive this unprecedented events that we have not seen in a long time.
Now, the Hong Kong government has unveiled a $100 million relief package for those travel agents, but industry players say it only serves as a band-aid.
Any of these subsidy or whatever you call it is a temporary relief. What we really need is for visitors to come again. I mean, these are temporary measures that is trying to help the travel agent a little bit during this difficult time, but it's definitely not a long-term solution.
Well, the Hong Kong government isn't sitting easy. There are efforts in motion to get tourism back on track, and the man who's spearheading efforts suggests it's all about sending a message to the world.
We need to have visibility, we need to bring our noise level back, we have to tell the whole world that, okay, Hong Kong is not unsafe, but it's have been a bit disruption and inconveniences. So we are upping our messages and broadcasts to make sure that our travelers and visitors coming to Hong Kong, they get the full understanding of how the traffic is going and where to avoid and so on.
Meanwhile, who can forget Alibaba's highly anticipated market debut on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange this morning? Shares surging right out of the gates, trading high by over 6.5%. Now, it's the city's biggest listing in a decade after the company raised a cool $11 billion in its share offering, and definitely welcome news.
We all know Hong Kong is still the financial capital in Asia. While Tokyo would be more like other commodities or foreign exchange, but Hong Kong is still the one. But the listing of Alibaba in Hong Kong would definitely boost a lot of good perspectives for Hong Kong. Especially, it will probably put Hong Kong Exchange as the IPO crown king for this year. So I think it's a good sentiment boost for Hong Kong.
Alibaba hopes this listing will potentially help it hedge against the risk of increased American scrutiny on Chinese firms, given there have been calls to delist Chinese companies from U.S. exchanges.
The U.S. is pretty harsh on Chinese companies listed overseas, so I think they have to find contingency plan that for those companies that are already listed in the U.S., in case anything happens in the U.S., they have another way out. So at this point, while it's very coincidence that Hong Kong is pretty calm in the last few days, so I think it's not the best timing. It still is a good time for Alibaba to be listed back in Hong Kong.
And there's more in store on Asia First tomorrow as we continue broadcasting out of Hong Kong for the rest of this week. We'll continue talking politics as the city tries to find a common way forward. Now, also in the spotlight, retail, which is mired in the muck from the months of unrest.
Here's a look at who you'll be hearing from throughout our morning of coverage. Tommy Cheong is member of the Hong Kong Executive Council and Legislative Council. Bernard Chan, convener of the Hong Kong Executive Council. David Gee, Director, Head of Research and Consultancy of Greater China at Knight Frank. And Alice Pang, Senior District Sales Director of Retail Department at Centerline Commercial.
So join us again tomorrow morning for our coverage from Hong Kong on Asia First, simulcast on CNA TV and CNA 938 Radio from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m.